We are right here at the Völkerkunde Museum in Hamburg, and today I'm talking to David Sevendeers, an artist that I also showed you guys on my Facebook page. Thank you very much for meeting up with me. So how did you start your career as an artist?
Lao Siaye. That's in my language, greetings in friendship. We always start with those words to make things happen in the right way. I am not an artist. Mm-hmm. In my language, there's no word for art or for artist. I create medicine. So that is how I've done it since I was a little boy. I started by carving and drawing and creating things with my hands that I just follow, and it happens without me even trying. I, in the beginning, never went to school for it. Nobody taught me how. Mm-hmm. I listened to elders, watched good examples, learned how to make the tools and use them the correct way. And a lot of my time was spent in the forest or on the water, and learned very much from my friends who are the animals of the forest and from the wind, and it came to me. It was my gift, and I don't think I really had to learn it, because the spirits and the little people showed me how to do a lot of the things. There are people who know how to listen to the stones, and then the stone will tell you which way to go. So it's very simple for me. Okay, so you were basically taught by your environment and nature and everything. Yes, and the material. You respect it, it shows you. Yeah, that's true. So talking about your material, what do you usually work with? With what kind of material? Usually is an interesting word. I've worked with pretty well everything. With bronze, with 600-year-old cedar trees making totems, with 100 tons of granite, with marbles, with slates. There isn't barely any material that I have not touched. I love stone, and I always keep coming back to it, but I have done big totems and made oil paintings and drawings. So because I don't see myself and don't even try to be an artist, I've never gone to a gallery in my life or made an exhibition. I let the things come to me that come to me, and they get finished, and usually the moment they're finished, somebody shows up and wants that piece of medicine, and that's how it happens. Okay, that's very nice. Yes, it is. And what kind of tools do you work with? What tools do you use, for example, for carving? When I did the totem that stands in front of this house, I made the tools myself. I got old pieces of steel that I found, or from old knives, and bent them accordingly and heated them and forged them the right way, and attached them to wooden handles. A lot of the axes and adze I created myself, because they had to have a special curve on them to do the work I was doing. A lot I've learned and been taught how to make my own chisels, but it's much easier to buy them. So there have been times when I have used hundreds and hundreds of chisels to carve a sculpture. It's much easier to buy them, but you have to be careful which type, because I'm using different stones, granite, marbles, slates. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of petroglyphs and different types of stones. And I use a tiny little hammer and a tiny little piece of steel to cut my way through the stones. So it changes for each medium that I touch. Okay. And so we just talked about the totem that is standing in front of the house here. So you usually work outside, I guess, from the size of your I love
artworks.
Being outside, yes. I don't, at home in Canada, I don't even have a studio where I work inside. Even when it's 25 below, I'm working outside. I just put on heavier clothing, and I could have done a lot of things in my life, but they always kind of made me make the choice. Do I want to sit inside, or do I want to be outside? And being outside was one of my primary objectives in life, to stay outside. And it's wonderful, because when I also work at different high schools in Canada, being the cultural facilitator, teaching about our First Nations culture. And so I have a lot of kids who tell me their dreams and what they'd like to do. And one of the children said to me, she loves the most of all the things she does in her life to be simply outside. So that's the same for me.
Okay. Well, I can understand that very well. And do you also sometimes listen to music while you're working, or do you just not listen to music and enjoy the silence?
Yes, I'm making music. I'm tack. I never listen to music when I carve. You know, like there's guys who build houses and they have these big boom boxes screaming. It disturbs me, so I don't have any music. Most of my life, and a lot of the sculptures I've done it in the wilderness, and there's lots of music in the wilderness every day. You just have to hear it.
And how would you describe your creative process when you're working? Like, how do you approach the material and everything?
My great-grandmother was born in the Stone Age. So I'm born 1957, my father's born 1900, my grandmother's born 1861, and my great-grandmother's born end of the 1830s. That means in British Columbia there were no white people there, and we talked and walked with our ancestors then and still today, but it was so clear how you dealt with things. So the stones here are alive. You listen, this wood is alive, you ask. It's a working together. I don't usually go towards anything with any set idea. If you ask me a question, I don't want to know what's going to come my way. I wait until it happens, answer what's in me, and if I pick up a stone or a piece of wood, it's so simple, it's already visible, and people ask me for something and I see it in the stone already, and the stone is like 400 million years old, so it's a beautiful, easy process. I kind of just follow what I see and hear.
So you usually already have the image in your mind when you start working, or
barely? I just stand there and look for a while and listen. And
okay.
It's like I said, in many native cultures there are stone listeners. There are people who hear the wind for medicine to help people, and it's so simple. Just see it. You usually find a good hunter does not have to go too far to find its prey. You look around, it's usually real close and close by what you need, and I see it pretty clear in the stones.
Okay.
In the material.
Did your parents or grandparents also teach you about the art of your ancestors?
Some. My father was a talented artist, but in our language it's called a Huyam. Those are the ancient ones. They're always with you, and I guess the closest you could get into a explanation from the European understanding would be what they call the muses, the spirits that are with you all the time and show you. My elders, when, for example, I did the totem, not one of them told me what to do. They didn't line me up and say, okay, David, you're going to Hamburg and better not forget to do this. They said, we're pretty sure you'll do the right thing, and trusted that the ancestors, the ancient ones, would speak, and they did. So when I finished the totem and had it set up here as one example, I went home and I did a presentation in front of the elders, and they listened and they watched, and the photos were passed around, and they discussed it and said, wow, you portrayed exactly what we are, because we're not Haida, we're not Tlingit, we're not anybody else but the Stalo people, and I gave honor to all of those elements of our world. They said, how nice that you listened. So it's, in our language, listening is called Lalam. Chwa is the ear, it's the organ. Lalam is the spirit that's all around us. So you use this organ to listen. And it's a beautiful way of bringing things to life, because you see and hear exactly what should be done. You're kind of in the process of serving. When we approach the spirits and the ancestors, we don't say, please help me. We say, what can I do for you? I'm at your service. And they say, oh, well, look, I've been having this on my heart for a while. Maybe you can bring that to life. So it's the way I do it. And it's then truly medicine.
Yeah, that's a very different approach from what many people here have, to be honest.
Yes, but it's an approach that most native people, indigenous people all over this world followed. It's not known because we use all these ism words: Catholicism, Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, all of those things. But then there's animism, which people think has to do with animals, but it really means to animate, to copy. And it's already there. All of the things we need to know is you copy the grizzly or the raven in a dance, their song, their way. And it's really a beautiful way just to acknowledge and serve Mother Nature, what she already has given birth to.
So, since we are here in the courtyard of the museum, and you told me that you actually created the totem here, could you tell me a little bit about the creational process and how it all started?
If you come to my people's land, or any of the other different types of First Nations, Native American peoples in America, you should take the time to learn our protocols, how to deal with a certain situation. Protocols meaning you show respect to how you approach receiving a tree for the ceremonial process of bringing it to another country, offering it as a sacrifice and as a gift to the people here. So I could tell you stories about the process of that totem for hours, the adventure it was. The greatest, easiest, simplest way of explaining is the name on that totem out there in Völkerkunde says Olhet, and Olhet means respect. So from the beginning to the end, I followed, the elders followed, and the people here in this city followed a respectful way how to make that transition from a tree standing in a forest on the west coast of Vancouver Island, being cut down for that purpose in ceremony, asking and receiving permission to bring it here with many gifts and many agreements that we can do this work, and that with love and respect over 3 years to carve it and work on it, and then pass it over to the people here, that it is accepted and cherished for what it stands for. And so that is the short version. I don't want to go much more into detail. I followed the old ways. I took my time and did the symbolism that it brings our families and our culture to revitalization of our values and the way we see this world.
That's nice. And how long did it roughly take to create it?
3 years.
Well, that's a long time.
Yes. And I was by myself, except for the spirits. I was the only human who physically worked on that totem. It's 40 feet tall and weighed in the beginning 12 tons and was made out of a 608-year-old tree.
Okay. And you also worked in winter, I guess?
Every day.
That's amazing. And so you, if I get that right, you want to communicate the culture of your people through your art and try to tell stories, what else are you trying to communicate with your art?
The question is kind of you. I'm not trying anything. I'm just doing what comes to me every day, and it's again Olhet, it's respect. I set up sculptures in Canada honoring and respecting the Raven clan, the Raven, the ancient ones, respecting all of our helpers in the animal world of the earth and Mother Earth. I am just following what comes towards me, so that's part of my work, but part of my work is also to make a fire and spend time with people telling our stories, telling our the way we see things are in this world. So it seems like I didn't have to go to school to learn any of this. It just came my way, and it's what I do to help the people here on this planet for the short time that I'm here.
Okay. And are you also teaching your art to others?
I do, and I have. I don't. Again, it's English words that I'm not sure if they're the right words, because I would not classify myself as a teacher. I would kind of say it's. I am allowing people with a little bit of giving them an impulse or advice to try to remember and listen themselves. So I don't stand over anybody while I'm showing them how. I show them how to respect the tools and respect the symbolism, and then I go away for 2 or 3 hours and let them listen and learn it. It's not good that they are dependent on me. It's better they are independent and learn their own way to listen.
That's true. And is that also what you do with the Sculpture Art Academy?
That's exactly what I do there.
Okay.
I had to give it kind of a name that says exactly what I'm doing, and I couldn't print it or state it in Völkerkunde because nobody would understand it. So I used English words to exactly say what I'm doing. Sculpture, art, and it's an academy where you learn how to use your hands and learn to listen.
And since you also talked about your language, do you fluently speak your language, or?
I don't think there's anybody left on this planet who fluently speaks our language. Fluently is a word that means we could converse like two Greeks between each other. The last person that I know who walked on this planet who could speak our language poetically was my great aunt Rosaline George from the reserve in Canada. She could say everything, but she taught me certain words and things, so the essential words that I need for the songs and for the blessings I can speak.
Okay.
Do you think that your style has changed over the years? Or, I mean, it's always the development, things always change. So.
Let's say I've changed, and the world has changed. So whatever I did when I was 20 has got to be different now because I am different now. So I don't try it. I don't care. I don't control it in the least. It's just what comes my way. Is at that moment the medicine that is needed for the job I'm doing. You know, if you think of the so-called being an artist in this modern world fits into a certain system and pattern, and I don't fit into that system or pattern at all. So I'm not watching or caring if somebody notices any difference in my work. I just do what makes me happy. There are purists out there who love things only a certain way. And somebody would come to me and would say, you know, the medicine I like, and that person would say, the medicine they love the most is elephant medicine. Then some crazy person would say, well, there were no elephants in our world. Are you allowed to make an elephant? And I said, you know, our stories go back 100,000 years. Don't you think there were big brother mastodons still around, living in our area, in Canada? It's not a crime to create elephant medicine because it made somebody happy. And then I've carved donkeys for people. There were no donkeys. I said, well, there are donkeys now, and the medicine works for that person. And whether I carve a snake medicine or a butterfly medicine, you'll find them everywhere on the planet. So I don't know. I'm kind of happy if I can make children smile, be happy. So in our language, we have the saying mameliliam, children's laughter. And if I can do that, I don't care what it looks like.
Okay. And Children's Laughter is also your non-profit foundation, right?
Yeah.
What is it all about? It's basically all about making children laugh.
That's an old Salish saying. It's so simple to keep peace on this planet. If the children are brought up with happiness and with laughter, there's no need for politics, there's no need for big heavy books, there's no need for war because the people themselves carry with them that happiness. They remember from their childhood it was a good place and a good time, and that gift you pass on to the next generation. There's so many unhappy children on this planet right now who don't laugh. And it's a simple saying in our world that if you don't have that children's laughter, all of what you're doing is for naught. It doesn't bring anything good into this world. It's simple.
True. Okay. Well, that was actually my last question. Thank you very much for doing this interview with me.
Very well.
It would be nice to meet you again.
Hi, Chick. Thank you.
Thank you.